So my journey as a teacher, my first year of teaching, I was in the school bus and I saw 6-7-year-olds solving the Rubik's Cube. I can solve the Rubik's Cube. But I was just shocked when I saw those children solving it because I thought this must be some child prodigy. Then I asked that kid, how did you learn to solve it? And he said, formula Akka. They call us Akka in our school. Then I said, formula va? They said, yeah, formula. And then he showed me how. But people from my generation know that we didn't have any formula. And if we wanted to solve it, we had to apply our minds and solve it. And this generation does not even know that there's no such thing. I mean, that it's possible to solve it without the formula. So, I mean, this is what I tell you. You can actually teach a monkey to follow that formula. You don't need a human brain. You don't need a human child for it. They can be taught the steps and they can do it. So I went back home and told my children, don't ever learn the formula. If somebody's telling the formula, run far away from it. And they did it. And when she was in grade 3, she solved the Rubik's Cube. But the connections that we form by solving it ourselves, it's not just for the Rubik's Cube. There's so much neurowiring that happens, the rewiring that happens in our brain, that it's for a lifetime. And it's going to be able to be applied in different situations later on, like puzzle solving and problem solving and cognitive flexibility in so many ways. So some way, this hard work is related, your theme, to what I'm talking about, because today we are not allowing our brain to work hard at all. Right? So this is how it is. Say, ma'am is one of my neighbors and this auntie who's sitting here in her orange sari is another neighbor for me. And I keep going to ma'am's house a lot. I keep walking up to her house a lot and I keep ignoring this auntie here and I don't go visit her at all for a long time. The path between my house and auntie's house would be like clearly formed and well defined, right? And what would happen to the path here? It will just be overgrown and outgrown and nothing would be there. That is exactly how our brain works too. So brain growth ஆகிறப்ப நம்ம குழந்தைங்களுக்கு synapses அப்படிங்கிறது தான் ரொம்ப முக்கியம். What is happening is the brain is growing, but why is it growing? How is it becoming more efficient? How is it becoming more capable? Because there are connections forming between all the cells inside the head, right, in your brain. And these connections are called synapses. And these synapses will form depending upon what we do repeatedly. So the path of least resistance which formed is what I was telling you about. This is the path that I kept taking this path a lot. Just like in a mountain, if it's been raining for thousands of years and there'll be a path formed in the rocks. For 1,000 years it doesn't rain and it again rains, it'll again take the same path, the water. That is the path of least resistance. How many of you here can cycle? Cycling yarukla theriyum? Do you think ever in your life you can stop, you can unlearn cycling? No. Does any of you think you can, unless you have Alzheimer's or something, but otherwise, is it possible to unlearn cycling?
No.
Why? Because we have repeatedly done this and we've trained our brain and we've formed muscle memory to be able to do this. Similarly for any habit. If we are training our brains to be distracted all the time, if we are training our children's brains to be distracted all the time, that is what it will be. And to unlearn that habit is going to take 100 times more effort than how much time it takes to learn the habit. So this is the thought I want to leave all of you with. This is just the tip of the iceberg that I have covered. So this is just the beginning. That's what the first 5 or 10 minutes of my talk. So இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் இன்னைக்கு ஈஸியாக குழந்தைங்களுக்கு கிடைக்குது. எந்த கேள்வி வந்தாலும் கிளாஸில் எது எடுத்தாலும் எதை பற்றி பார்த்தாலும் உடனே போய் கூகுள் பண்ணுறோம், ரைட்? We need to stop the urge to go and Google and let our children think about it and imagine. So I'll give you one small example and I'll stop here. My nephew, when he was 9 or 10 years old, my sister's son, he used to be a voracious reader and he had read the Harry Potter, all the volumes over and over and over again. But he hadn't watched the movie. All of his friends had watched the movie. So my sister gave in to his requests and said, okay, fine, I'll take you. He went and watched the movie. And you know what his reaction was? Amma, yema enak movie kaamchinga. Because when he read it in his head, it was so much more grander. His
Yes.
imagination was so much more better, and the movie
Yes.
did not do justice to it.
Yes.
So now it was actually reduced to something, to the movie. Because he's seen it now, he can't unsee it. So many of the things that we think that this generation is gifted, they are lucky that they have so much information, so they have access to so much information, is actually working against them, because it's not giving them enough time to ruminate, to get bored, to think, to ponder, to imagine, to create and reflect and think deeply, introspect. They don't have time for any of this. And if we let them keep giving them so much information, they're not going to develop a personality and identity and with originality for themselves. They will be like pancake people, spread thin across. So if we want our children to have very strong personalities with a very efficient brain and be behaviorally, very social, the number one thing that I would request all of you parents to do is throw away that smartphone. Don't give it to them till they're 18. There is absolutely no need, and I stand here testimony, and I have 2 teenagers, and I haven't, and they're perfectly fine. They're more than fine, and they're happy. So don't give in to this temptation when people say they'll be left out, they won't learn. They'll learn it. They learn it in a day. But they will not learn cycling like that. They will not learn social skills. They will not learn communication. They will not learn all these other things that they need to learn now while their brain is growing. So this is the message that I want to leave you with, and I want to thank you all for listening patiently.